We are calling on the police to ensure that they root out all of these rogue, racist police officers that are using the police force as a cover that allows them to perpetrate their racism against us as a people. Some deep-reaching questions need to be asked here. When you watch the video that I'm going to be showing you, when you hear about the stories that I'm going to be telling you about, you're going to be asking yourselves questions like, who's there to protect Africans in the UK against the police? Who is going to be here to defend us? Who is protecting Africans here in the UK? Where is our police force? Because it's certainly going to raise some issues of concern about our treatment. And this, isn't anything new. This has been going on for decades. I've got another case that I want to bring to your attention. Another, equally very disturbing case. And if anything, possibly more disturbing, because in this incident, the use of the Taser gun has left the gentleman concerned with potentially life-changing health issues. It's not a case of a few bad apples. It's a case of institutionalized racism and an institution where racists feel that they can get away with doing what they want to African people because they've got the force to back them and the force to cover them. So greetings family, Sister Shanice here. I want to rise you up. I want to thank you so much for tuning in to the Sister Shanice Show. This is a show that looks at issues that are pertinent to us as members of the African community living in the UK. And, we ask a whole series of questions that we feel need to be asked that maybe the mainstream media are not likely to address, not likely to ask, or not likely to deal with in a way that maybe we feel that some of these issues need to be dealt with and need to be addressed. So I want to thank you so much in advance for subscribing to the channel. I want to thank you for liking the video. I want to thank you for sharing the video as well. Thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my listeners. Okay, well, today's story is going to be looking at the police officers here in the UK and two cases in particular which give rise to some serious concerns about the way that they use their Taser guns when it comes to their dealings with us as members of the African community. And it really gives rise to a number of very concerning questions. Some deep-reaching questions need to be asked here. When you watch the video that I'm going to be showing you, when you hear about the stories that I'm going to be telling you about, you're going to be asking yourselves questions like, who's there to protect Africans in the UK against the police? Who is going to be here to defend us? Who is protecting Africans here in the UK? Where is our police force? Because it's certainly going to raise some issues of concern about our treatment. And this, isn't anything new. This has been going on for decades. Disproportionate over-policing of black people has been going on for decades here in the UK. And we are now during COVID. We're during the COVID pandemic, and yet still harsh policing is happening against some of our young men and our brothers and our uncles and our fathers. I want to say thanks to everyone that sent me the video. You were asking me to give my thoughts on it. So I'll give you a few of my thoughts and a few things that I think you should look out for while you're watching the video. And then I'll share some more of my thoughts after the video. Take a listen to this case, family. Greater Manchester Police has asked the police watchdog to investigate an incident which saw an officer taser a man in front of his young child. Andy Burham, who is the city's mayor in Manchester, has also called for an urgent review of whether the stun gun use was justified. Footage of the incident actually shows the child screaming, "Daddy!" as the man falls face first to the ground after being tasered at the petrol station. I'm going to show you the video in a very short while, and warning, because it is a very awful awful incident indeed. So you're going to notice that as soon as he puts down his child, the police officers make a move to grab hold of his arms. He wriggles his arms away from the police, and he's got both of them, you know, talking to him. He turns to one as if to address one of the police officers. The other police officer then takes one step back and fires the taser gun directly at the African man. You are going to see him drop face first onto the ground. And while he's on the ground, the poor child, you know, is just hysterical. The police officers, one of the police officers decides, you know, to take the child away from the scene. And in the meantime, you'll see the other police officers start leaning over the man who at first is motionless on the ground. And the moment he turns his head, probably in agony, the police officer kneeling over him starts shouting at him, "Put your hands behind your back, put your hands behind your back," and tasering him at the same time. Now, he's already been stunned by the gun. He's already out of it on the ground. He's already probably in considerable amount of pain. And nevertheless, the officer, whilst shouting instructions for him to put his hands behind his back, is also tasering him. You're going to hear the taser gun going and going and going, you know, while he's already stunned on the ground. This is awful. Anyway, let me play the video for you so you can see the footage for yourself. And, you know, you'll obviously draw your own opinions as to whether or not this was a justified use of the taser gun, or, you know, whether the extent to which it was used was justified. Take a look, take a watch, have a listen.
Let my child. You're the one. Move back! Move back!
Oh my God.
Don't! Put your hands behind your back, now! Put your hands behind your back, now! Get your hands behind your back, now!
Well, you saw the video for yourself. You may well have seen it before. And firstly, I hope that that gentleman is okay and that he has fully recovered. And I certainly hope that that child, you know, gets the therapy and gets the counselling that, you know, is definitely needed as a result of this incident. Well, in my opinion, you know, that taser gun was used at too close range. I'm sure that there must be written somewhere the distance at which, you know, the police can legally and safely use a taser gun. Not only was it used at too close range, but there's no way either that he should have continued tasering a man while he was on the ground and clearly not of any threat whatsoever, but if anything, maybe in need of medical attention after crashing to the ground. Also, there's no way, you know, in my opinion, that that taser gun should have been used at all by petrol pumps. He could have caused an explosion, killing everybody. You know, it was just such a senseless move. If anything, they should have moved the scene away from the petrol pumps and had a conversation and a dialogue away from, you know, a potentially explosive situation. Now, when you think of this case, you have to look at it within the context of institutionalized racism that exists here in the UK and has also been reported to exist in the police force. 21 years ago, we had the infamous McPherson report, which actually looked into the police force and reported that the force is institutionally racist. And according to the BBC News article that was dated on the 24th of February, they interviewed Leroy Logan, who was the former Black Met officer and ex-chairman of the National Black Police Association. And he said then, when it was 20 years on from the McPherson report that the force still remains institutionally racist. And he also said that policing towards black people is still disproportionate in terms of stop and search, where a black person is 5 times more likely to be stopped by the police than their white counterparts. In addition, they are 20 times more likely to be stopped under Section 60 roadblocks, and you are more likely to be tasered if you are black. So these statistics already exist. We already know from the research that was done many years ago and from the reports from, black officers working in the Met that there was cause for concern about the overuse of tasers in relation to black people. So when we see incidents like this, what action do you think ought to be taken against the police officers concerned? I would expect that by now they have been removed from their job, that they are at home without pay, pending investigation, and I would expect those investigations to lead to a dismissal. I've got another case that I want to bring to your attention. Another, equally very disturbing case. And if anything, possibly more disturbing, because in this incident, the use of the taser gun has left the gentleman concerned with potentially life-changing health issues. In this incident, this is a case of a young black man who's been left seriously injured after being tasered. It's reported that the police watchdog has launched an investigation into the conduct of 3 police officers after a young black man in his 20s was left with life-changing injuries in an incident in North London. This is where he was shot with a stun gun. Police on patrol in Haringey chased a young man on Monday after he ran away from them following an approach, it's understood. They used a stun gun as he jumped over a wall. So they used the stun gun as he was jumping over the wall. The stun gun stuns you. So he's obviously in the middle of jumping over a wall. They've used the stun gun and it's basically just paralized him for a while. And so he's lost his mobility skills, and as a result, he has gone falling, crashing to the floor on his back. And this incident now has potentially left him partially paralized. So the man's family has since been in touch with the Independent Office for Police Conduct to call on them to carry out an investigation into the matter. The young man was running away because he had probably a small amount of cannabis on him. And now his life has been ruined because of the inappropriate use and the inappropriate timing of the use of a taser gun. So both cases have been referred to the Independent Police Conduct Authority for investigation. But to what extent are these investigations really independent? Can we really expect justice to come from an institution or organisation that's looking into the conduct of police officers, which may itself involve police officers doing the investigations? Or shouldn't, these investigations and these inquiries be totally independent of the police? These are 2 very serious cases within a few days of each other. Both have been referred. Can we really expect to get the sort of outcome that's expected? The police force should not be allowed to be used as an institution where rogue police officers, can abuse black people with impunity. It's not a case of a few bad apples. It's a case of institutionalized racism and an institution where racists feel that they can get away with doing what they want to African people because they've got the force to back them and the force to cover them. So we are calling for action. We are calling for the police officers involved to be immediately removed from their post, pending investigation, and we would expect those investigations to lead to their dismissal. We are calling on the police to ensure that they root out all of these rogue, racist police officers that are using the police force as a cover that allows them to perpetrate their racism against us as a people. No more should the police force be a safe haven for thugs disguised as police officers who are then free to rain terror on us as a people with their wickedness. No more should the police force be used as a safe haven for those officers who want to abuse their powers and brutalize members of the African community. We are saying no more. No more. This has been going on for too long. Not just decades, but if we go back further, it's been going on centuries, where there are streaks of people, streaks of people of a Caucasian origin who have a hatred for us as a people and use their position within these institutions to make our life hell. Be they in the healthcare, they will give us treatment that is to our detriment rather than to our health. If they're in the police force, they will abuse their position and the powers that they have to make our life hell. If they're in local government, if they're in any institution, if they're in this field of science, irrespective of where they are, the racism that they have comes out when it comes to dealing with us as a people. And what we're saying is no more. No institution, no organization should be a safe haven or a safe space for people who want to abuse their positions to the detriment of people of colour. So we certainly hope that the Independent Investigation Authorities does the works that we would expect it to do. And just to say that I will be keeping a watch of this case, and I will be coming back to you with more information as soon as I have it. I want to thank you so much for keeping it locked to the Sister Shanice Show, and certainly hope that you found the reporting interesting. I welcome your views and opinions and your comments down below. More love, more power, more strength. Vudum, family.